Welcome back to the Valley of the Suns podcast. I'm your host, Kory Miller. Joining me again today is Valley of the Suns site expert, Adam Maynes. Adam, thanks for coming on again.
Thanks for having me again.
On today's episode, we're going to investigate whether or not Eric Bledsoe and Devin Booker should be all-stars for the Suns this season, and we're going to dive into some trade rumors involving the Suns as we get closer to the deadline. But let's start off with Bledsoe and Booker. Adam, do you think these guys should be all-stars this year?
Yes. Well, yes. In my heart, they are. Aren't they all in the hearts of all Valley of the Suns fans? I mean, they're two of the best players we've had in a while, really since the end of the 7 seconds or less era, excuse me. But will they make it? No. There's definitely a list of guards in the West that are just, they'll never be able to insurmount, let alone win through the voting process, the fan voting process. I mean, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson right there off the bat, you just know those are two of the spots. And truthfully, those are kind of the exact situation that Booker and Bledsoe find themselves in, is in those two positions, a point guard and shooting guard. They're going to be second, third, fourth on the list. And, you know, as much as I would love to see one of them, the Suns have not had an all-star representative since 2009, if I recall. It's just not going to happen this year. It really isn't. And as much as Booker's been on fire these last 5 games, just looking back, 27 points, 22 points, 28 points in 39 back-to-back games, tying his career high in both his Mexico City games. I mean, that alone is just based on a 5-game spread, he'd be in the discussion. But no, unfortunately, they're just not going to get him. What do you think? Do you think they've set a shot? Can they get lucky? You know?
Oh yeah, I completely agree with you. I don't think either one should be an all-star this year. I think Bledsoe has played very close to an all-star level, but when we go down the list of guards that are going to make it on the West, you start with Harden and Westbrook. They're MVP frontrunners. They deserve to be there. You got Curry. You got Lillard. Clay's probably the 5th guard on the West. That's not even talking about Chris Paul, who probably has to be on that list as well. Then I think Bledsoe enters the discussion. But the name I kept comparing him to is C.J. McCollum for Portland.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at some of the numbers, you might give the edge to McCollum. So I think even though Bledsoe's played pretty well this season, there's just not enough spots at guard in the West. Booker, for me, like you said, in his last games in January, he's averaging 28 points and he's shooting 55% from 3. He's absolutely torching it right now.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem for Devin is he had a really bad December. He's been really inconsistent. He's just not deserving of an all-star spot this year. But I do think this is probably the closest the Suns have come to having an all-star since Dragic a few years ago when he made All-NBA. And that's encouraging, I think. And I think this may be the last year of the drought, because I think as you look next year, I personally think Booker's going to take another leap. And I think you'll see Booker be an all-star next year, and hopefully for many years to come after that.
Mm-hmm. I'd like to just backtrack a little bit. I made the mistake earlier of saying the last All-Star was in 2009. It was actually 2012. Steve Nash made it in 12. He was our last All-Star. So really, since the end of the Steve Nash era, the Suns have not had anybody really within the conversation of All-Star caliber on the team, which does make this season, even with a 12-27 record, it does make this season quite exciting because we have 2 players that are at least in the discussion. I mean, you did just mention Goran Dragic, but the 2013-2014 season was the season you're referencing. It would have been the 14 All-Star game that he was snubbed in. He, comparatively to Eric Bledsoe right now, to Bledsoe's 2016-17 season stats, Goran Dragic averaged 20.3, currently Bledsoe's 20.1 scoring. Assist, Dragic averaged 5.9, exactly where Eric Bledsoe is. Rebounds is the one kind of disparity between the two. Bledsoe's averaging 5, even, and Dragic was averaging 3.2. In terms of turnovers, 2.8 for Dragic to 3.2 for Bledsoe, and then steals, Dragic was averaging 1.4 to Bledsoe's 1.5 this season. So it is incredible how close their statistics are in terms of the 2 seasons. You could make that argument that in 2014 Dragic was snubbed. I would think this year we can't make that argument with Eric Bledsoe as much, again, as I would absolutely love to see it. It is just the caliber of players that are in front of him. And it's not just the caliber, excuse me, because he's in that conversation. It's just the number of point guards and shooting guards in front of him that are just perennial all-stars and are in the discussion every year. This season is just not going to happen.
Yeah, well, let me ask you this. So obviously you're going to have Harden, you're going to have Westbrook, you'll have Curry, and I think Lillard is a no-brainer as well.
Now
I
he
th-
has been a snub in recent years too.
yeah, I think he's on the team this year. There's no question about that. He's fantastic.
Mhm.
After those four, you probably put Chris Paul in there still. Once you get to that six guard spot, can you have a debate between Bledsoe and Clay where Bledsoe's kind of a little bit more of an all around guard? Clay's great defensively and is a great shooter, but in the Golden State offense, with so many mouths to feed, the numbers aren't quite there for him this season.
I think from our perspective we can, but from a national perspective, Klay Thompson being on the Warriors, Klay Thompson being an NBA champion prior to Kevin Durant even joining the team, I think just nationally he's going to get the nod. And now, granted, he's not going to be voted in, but just that persona. I don't even know if persona is the right word, but just kind of having that tie to the Golden State, this great juggernaut that is the Warriors. He's going to get the nod over the Suns, who are 12-27.
Yeah, well, and we should preference this entire discussion. We're talking about who's deserving, but I mean the All Star game. The fan vote actually picks who's in there. And at one point, I don't know if this is still the case, but about a week ago or so, Zaza Pachulia was second in votes in the front court. And
Yeah.
so, if we're being completely honest, the All Star game really doesn't mean anything. But this discussion is based on who's deserving,
Hmm.
although that's not necessarily who's going to get in because it comes down to fan vote for part of the selection process.
Agreed. And back to Klay Thompson for a brief moment. He's also been an All-Star the past 2 seasons. So, I mean, do you now all of a sudden take him off and add Bledsoe or add Booker? I really don't think so. I think there's a chance that depending on where Chris Paul goes next season, presuming he leaves the Clippers, just because there has been that discussion, I think there's a chance that this might be Chris Paul's last run as just a guarantee All-Star. He has been the last 9 years. So again, I mean, do you take him off? But his stats, I use this word very lightly, have been dwindling a little bit. His 17.7 points is the lowest since 2012-13, but his assists are 9.8. It's the lowest it's been since 2012-13 as well. So I mean, I could see maybe if he just takes another step back, depending on the offense he goes into next year, if he doesn't have, what do they call themselves? What's the nickname that the Clippers give themselves with with Jordan and
Lob City.
Lob City, thank you. I had Splash Brothers in my head for some reason. But if he doesn't have Lob City there, then around him, that is, then is he the same point guard? So this could be kind of Chris Paul's last guaranteed nod, which then if Bledsoe repeats this in last season's statistics again next year, or if Booker improves even further, even as a third-year guard, that could be then their chance to slip in. What really bothers me, though, is that outside of Jason Kidd, who as a Sun was a perennial point guard all-star every year, Kevin Johnson was as good as was a better point guard than Bledsoe and a better player to date than Booker. And even he only made 3 All-Stars in his career. I mean, so it really just shows that when the West is stacked as it was back in the 80s and 90s, in terms of guard play, it's difficult for a Sun to be a perennial point guard.
Yep, and again, this all comes down to the fan vote plays a huge role, and so even if guards like Paul and Clay maybe aren't as deserving this year, I still think they're both deserving, but even if they're not as deserving, we both know they're going to make the team.
Oh, yeah.
But I think we're both agreed Bledsoe and Booker are not all-stars this year. But again, moving forward, I think this won't be the last time we have Suns in the discussion for all-stars for a while. I actually think Devin Booker is going to make the team next year because I'm expecting him to take a big leap on the national stage in his 3rd season.
Oh, boy. I hope
So I think we're going to have a lot more conversations like these in the future.
Yes, sir.
Alrighty then, moving on to some trade discussions involving the Suns. There have been some recent rumors out there. Pretty much everyone is expecting the Suns to make at least one, if not more, moves by the deadline, which is just about a month away. Adam, some of the recent rumors involve Brandon Knight to Philadelphia or to Sacramento, PJ Tucker to the Knicks, and Tyson Chandler to Portland. Which of these do you think is the most substantial and has the biggest chance to come true?
Well, if I could take a short step back and just say which player is most likely to be moved, I do think it is Brandon Knight. PJ Tucker being his last year on the deal, the Suns are in no rush to trade him. They don't. I think most rumors, or at least most speculation, is they're not expected to re-sign him. So unless you can snag a desperate first-round pick from somebody, or a team who is desperate to get him and is willing to throw us a future first-round pick, I really don't even know if the Suns move him. I think to New York is a nice rumor because the Knicks need defense and they're struggling. They're out of the playoffs right now. They could use him. He's got the Chip Hornacek tie. But there had been talk, and I had discussed this on our page, Valley of the Suns, that Phil Jackson had pretty much said last season, we're not trading any picks. And he wasn't speaking of PJ Tucker. He was just speaking in general. So if they're not looking to trade any picks, I don't really know what other takers there would be for a rental PJ Tucker who's not going to provide very much offense at all.
Well, let me ask you this then.
Sure.
I am of the opinion that there's no way PJ is coming back next year. The Suns are going to re-sign him. He's going to be in a different uniform in 2017, 2018.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't it in the Suns' best interest to get anything you can for him, knowing that we're not a playoff team and that keeping him does nothing? Even if it's only a second-round pick to trade him off as a rental player, yeah, a second-round pick is normally worthless, but, I mean, Draymond Green was selected in the second round.
Sure.
I mean, every pick is an asset of some sort, however low that may be. I think if the Suns can give him away to anyone for anything, I think because everyone knows he's not coming back, I still think it's a good move to make.
Sure. Manu Ginobili was a second-round pick. Goran Dragic was a second-round pick. If I'm not mistaken, Jeff Hornacek was a third-round pick. Yeah, I mean, definitely the idea of trading him for anything, I think, is viable. So the NBA trade deadline is February 23rd, so it's about 4 weeks away. Do the Suns lose a lot in the next few weeks and then just kind of go, all right, this kind of little short run here with, Mexico City in the heart of it was fun, but we're really not going anywhere, which we all expect anyway. But at that point, the Suns, does, Ryan McDonough, general manager, just decide, all right, let's just kind of drop a couple guys off. We're not going to get much, for a second round pick is an asset. Yes, they could. I just don't see it. And the reason I just don't see him being moved for a second round pick only is because he still is an asset on the roster as that veteran leader. And we all saw him in San Antonio. The guy looked like he was 27 years old again, or 24 years old again for that matter. Just active, tough, hard-nosed defense. He's not going to provide much offense, but he is a guy that, at least in the locker room, is a very likable guy. And many, many, many fans just love the guy. I mean, he wins the Dan Marley Hustle Award every year. So I just don't really see him, of all players, being dumped off. He is kind of a core piece in a defensive way, at least from a veteran leadership way. And I think he is the kind of player that you do want Marquise Chris, Dragon Bender, Tyler Lewis, even Devin Booker and then for that matter, TJ Warren and Alex Len. He's the kind of guy you want these guys, these younger bucks, to really look up to. And if he gets dumped off for a second round pick, it might send the wrong message in the locker room. And not that the locker room would suddenly fall apart, but I think it would kind of hurt the chemistry a little bit more than it would be worth for just a second round pick. I mean, do you agree? Do you disagree?
I agree. And actually, going off that point, that's actually the reason I don't want to trade Tyson Chandler at all. Because I think his leadership and his presence, even if he's a little bit old, even if he can't move quite as quick as he used to, I think he's still an incredibly valuable asset to this team because of how young the Suns are. So unless Tyson really, really wants to go play for a contender to finish his career, I know that he actually had told the Suns during the offseason he wanted to stay here, and I hope that continues. I'd like to see him actually finish out the contract, at least go one more year with Phoenix, because I think his leadership is really going to rub off on all the young players on the roster, and it's invaluable. As for PJ, if they were to trade him to a contender, I don't know that would send a bad message in the locker room because it's giving him a shot at a playoff run, and that's something he's not going to have here. He's still going to be a free agent. He's going to leave this summer, so he's not coming back. I think as long as you were to handle the trade in a professional way, I don't know that would have any negative effect on the locker room. But you are right. He does hustle. He plays great defense, and in that sense, he is a good role model for some of the younger players. Now, with all that said, I do think you have to trade Brandon Knight.
Hmm.
I think he's the one player on the roster you have to trade. I just don't think he fits the rest of this team. He has, I have to go double check. I'm pretty sure it's still the worst plus minus in the league. He did as of a couple weeks ago. And I don't know if you can get anything for him now, but I'm in full favor of shipping him out somewhere. I know Philadelphia and Sacramento have been two widely discussed options. Actually, Robert Neal on the site wrote an article talking about flipping Knight for Okafor. I don't know if Philly would give up that much for Knight because I don't know if his value is that high right now. If they did, I'd be ecstatic because I think Okafor would be a great get for Knight. A first round pick would be great to get for Knight as well. I don't know if any of those things are going to happen because I don't know how high his value is right now. But out of those two destinations, what do you think is the most likely landing spot for Knight, assuming that he's going to get dealt?
Assuming it gets dealt between those two destinations, I think the most likely destination is Sacramento. I think they've got the expiring contracts the Suns might want to be able to pick up, in Rudy Gay, for instance, and there has been rumored discussions since the offseason. So I had posted months ago, go get Boogie. He's not coming. And now the talk is they're going to sign him to a contract extension that's just going to blow all other contract extensions out of the water. So if we can get some expiring contracts, and then with PJ Tucker off the books next summer, they who knows who's going to actually be available, restricted free agents re-sign, or what free agents just go, yeah, not Phoenix, sorry. But they would have space in the, plenty of cap space to kind of make some of those moves. Now, I am of your opinion. I would love Okafor, and I think you put it the right way. I think getting Okafor for Knight, actually a trade that shoots to be fairly parallel in terms of return. And the reason I say that is Okafor has a big name, but he's not a good defensive player. Okafor is playing behind Joel Embiid, who is the next team Hakeem Olajuwon. He's playing behind Nerlens Noel, who's just a fantastic kind of all-around 4 and 5. He can play defense, he can score, he can rebound. He's not going to score a lot, but I mean, he's going to be that kind of tough-nosed guy that you want at the 4 and 5. Okafor just does not play defense, and because of that, he's not playing. Okafor has been a DMPCD 4 out of the last 6 games. He only played 10 minutes against Minnesota back on January 3rd. He scored 2 points, got 1 block, and 4 rebounds, it looks like. Now, what would that have been? 2 nights ago, on the 14th, Embiid was out, or they rested Embiid. That knew, hey, let's let our stars sit for a while, which everybody hates. So he came in and played masterfully. He started the game 35 minutes, scored 26 points, only 9 boards, but shot 10 of 16 from the field, 6 of 11 from free throw line, but he's a big center, not something to expect. Got a block, a couple of turnovers, 3 turnovers actually. But that 26 points, I mean, that's not something we get out of our center position. It's really not, we don't even get that out of our 4 position right now. We are so dependent upon our guards. So I do think that Okafor could be a good get. Now the Suns might have to throw a little bit something else. Maybe people might hate this idea. You might have to flip Marquise Chris, or you might have to flip a future first-round pick. In fact, you probably do have to sweeten the pot a little bit. But I don't know. I mean, that's just speculation from my perspective. The Sixers aren't playing him, and if they're not getting anything else in terms of trade offers better than Brandon Knight, you never know. Stranger trades have happened. I'll wrap up this trade discussion right now. I am with you. I say keep Tyson Chandler. I love that guy. He's just so much fun to watch. He's so much fun to listen to. The guy's he's kind of my spirit animal in the NBA right now. And if we could jettison Brandon Knight, bring in Okafor, let Okafor start, have Tyson Chandler come off the bench, and then even have some great Tyson Chandler and Okafor lineups. This is all hinging on, well, what do we do with Alex Len, which at the moment I don't even know. I don't know if he's worth the big contract that he's going to just get. But if you do have Okafor and you've got Tyson Chandler for the next 2 years, I mean, I really look forward to seeing that team and seeing a lot of scoring from the 5, and then still backup defense for Tyson Chandler and let him kind of ride off into the valley of the sunset. So I'd be all for that. Absolutely.
Yep. Well, and I would actually be okay sending a future pick and Knight for Okafor. I don't want to give up Chris. I don't want to give up on him this early because I think there's still a lot of potential there, and I think he's having a pretty good rookie year because he was supposed to be raw coming out of college. Mm-hmm. I think Okafor could be a good fit because he could kind of learn from Tyson a little bit and kind of take over as Tyson kind of, like you said, rides off into the sunset, assuming that we keep him. So I do love the idea of trading Knight and getting Okafor, but I don't want to give up any other players for him. I'm okay giving up a pick, but
We have two Miami picks too, so that's the thing. I mean, you could give up a pick that we technically shouldn't even own anyway, if you will. I mean, I've used that
well,
before.
and those Miami picks look really good right now because Miami's a bad team and they're going to get worse and they're not going to be better for a while.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways, it'll be interesting to see what happens as we get closer to the deadline. And I know that there'll be plenty of coverage both on the site and on future podcasts as we approach that deadline. That's February 23rd, so just over a month away. Adam, to kind of close out this episode, do you want to kind of give us an update of what's new on the site and what folks can go check out?
Yeah, we've got a lot of great stuff going on. I always like to discuss, as you are listening right now to our weekly podcast. Kory here has been putting together a weekly Rookie Watch podcast, which is just fantastic. And we've got three of the best, most exciting up-and-coming rookies in a league. And to have three on one team and have none of them be a flop right off the bat, it is just a lot of fun to discuss. So always check out Kory's podcast on that. We have some exciting news coming out right now about a monthly debate that we'll be hosting, that we will be asking everybody to participate in. I won't give any more details about that, but check out probably the next 48 hours. So today is the 16th, depending on what time this actually gets posted. By the 18th, we will have that up as well. That's going to be really exciting. As always, check out valleyofthesuns.com. We do pregame posts, we do post-game posts, opinions. We love to hear your thoughts on the games as well. Always comment on those. And then, of course, we discuss trade possibilities and any other rumor that's out there flying around the NBA. As Kory mentioned earlier, Robert Neal wrote one recently in the last couple of days, will the Suns make a move or remain irrelevant? And that's discussion of should the Suns actually make a trade to get better this year, seeing as they're only three and a half games out of eighth place in the West. So they are actually technically in the playoff hunt as we speak. So we have all that. Also, we'd like to introduce that we do have a new email account. So please email us at votsuns@gmail.com. Send us your thoughts, your opinions. If you have anything that you want to say that, hey, why don't you guys discuss this? We'd love to hear it. We would like to do mailbag segments in these weekly posts into the future as well. So if you leave us a couple questions, we'd be happy to read those in these casts and then answer them for you and discuss those topics as well. So please shoot us an email, write us a comment on the post, on valleyofthesuns.com, and then, of course, read our work.
Yep. Well, thanks for coming on today, Adam.
Thank you, sir.
Always good talking to you. And to all of our listeners, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.